This is Cougar Cassius for IFL TV in association with MGM Marbella.
Back in the saddle. Cougar Cassius. VIP passes.
Another one.
£120.
Would
for
you
an
get for
inner
that?
ringside seat, a great night of boxing, and a free bar and grub. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but if that don't represent fantastic value for fight fans, I'm not quite sure what does.
Should chuck something else in. They shouldn't have to pay for their programme if they get that.
Yeah, maybe. On the bigger shows, we're throwing a programme and all. But.
Should charge them £130 and chuck in a free programme.
All right, look, first you're matchmaking, now you're trying to set price points.
You know, matchmaking.
Well, I saw your tweets earlier in the week. Harrison against Joshua, Burns against Harrison. These are, you know what I mean. Just relax. I know you're becoming popular. I know it can go to your head, but just remember your foundations. You are an internet reporter. Very good one.
Commercially, you agreed that Joshua and Harrison does. You said that in the interview.
No, I don't see the value in. Well, actually, I mean, I guess it sells some. Oh, does it? I mean, I just think for his progression, Joshua, like I said in the interview yesterday, Joshua doesn't need gimmicks. He's the real deal, and I just feel no disrespect to all. Now, by the way, I've got to say, because I have been watching Big Brother, as James found out in the interview yesterday. I do like Audley. I mean, there are a few times when you give it one of them, but he's a nice bloke. Just don't think that he's got it.
So do you dismiss that fight because you just think that AJ's got nothing to prove by beating him? Right.
He's Price knocked him out in a round, Wilder knocked him out in a round, and I just.
And the Burns Harrison fight doesn't.
No, I think I don't mind that fight because it's, you know, the first show my old man ever promoted was Frank Bruno against Joe Bugner. Nice starter at White Hart Lane. It's mad, isn't it? And the title of that film, that show on a poster was "The last word is goodbye," and that's the same title that I would use for that show, because both of those are finished if they don't win that fight, and that's why I quite like the fight. I think, you know, if Burns was a world champion and we were taking that fight, I wouldn't agree with it, but where they are at the moment, I do think it's a good fight for both of them. If Harrison comes back with a win and shows that he's still active and still capable, it's a big fight for Scotland. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, I'm not sure it will, but it's one that...
A little bit of negative feedback from the Scottish Twitter fans about that fight.
But again, it's like, you know, you announce Coyle against Katsidis and Twitter goes mad with, like you sort of turn out here today, the tickets have gone through the roof, and then you go on Twitter and you get like 30 or 40 people going, oh, I'm not sure about that, Katsidis is a little bit shot-worn, but levels, you know, look at the level Tommy Coyle's been operating at, had a tough fight with Daniel Brizuela, and look at the levels that Katsidis operated in the past. I know he's not the fighter that he was when he boxed Marquez and Guerrero, but he's still a dangerous fighter that's hugely entertaining. So the arena will be sold out. You know, it'll be a fight that a lot of people are interested in. And, you know, Tommy Coyle is not Terence Crawford at the moment, you know. So it's a good fight and it's a competitive fight.
You saw Omar Figueroa fight the other night, didn't you? Potentially try and line him up with one of the lightweights here?
Yeah, it's weird style, isn't it? Because I was watching him I didn't think a lot of Estrada. I don't think he could punch that hard.
But he nearly stopped him, didn't he, at one point?
But I think that's because Figueroa was all over the place with the weight. But he's got that sort of style where he walks you down and he just subtle work. And after a couple of rounds, I was thinking, this guy's terrible. And after 5 or 6 rounds, I was thinking, this guy's tough. You know, because he soaks it up, non-stop pressure fighter. I think he might be one of those that's more difficult to beat than he looks, you know. But in answer to your question, yeah, I mean, look, in an ideal world, Burns would have beaten Zlatican, and I think he would have been in line for Figueroa, and that's a fight we could have made. Obviously, you've got Mitchell, you've got Crawler, you've got Tommy Coyle, you've got Campbell in time. So he's a definite target for all lightweights who are world ranked.
Obviously, we know what you're doing here with this fight. Slipping them on the same bill, trying to build them up for a mega show in Hull next year. You do that a lot, didn't you?
No, I mean, I think everybody in Hull wants to see Coyle v Campbell. You know, we saw the event we did outdoors just over a year ago at Craven Park. I believe this is a fight that can do 20,000 at the KC Stadium. But they've both got really tough fights. You know, Campbell in Brizuela, which is a massive step up for him. And Coyle's got a real 50-50 against Katsidis. So they've both got to win those fights, because I think if one was to lose, it doesn't quite have the same buzz around that fight. But I really like Coyle Campbell, Battle of Hull, KC Stadium, 20,000, another massive event. I think the people are excited about it. I think it's a fight that can be made very easily. And fingers crossed they both win on the 25th.
Certainly, hope so. Gavin McDonald vacated his British title. Spoke to him earlier on. Obviously, a few social media people suggesting that he vacated to avoid the fight with Jazza Dickens. Not the case.
No, I mean, it's. Don't get me wrong. It's a very competitive fight, and it's a tough fight for Gavin. But there's so many other fights in the mix for him that are being discussed. It's like sometimes you've got to weigh up, you know, the value of certain fights against the risk of certain fights. Like, what I'm trying to get at is we can have a fight as tough as Jazza Dickens for bigger reward. Does that make sense? So, you know, there's some big names in the mix for Gavin McDonald. He's number 2 challenger in Europe, so if Kid Galahad vacates, or even if he wants to fight, Gavin can fight him, you know, and if he vacates, he'll get a shot at that European title. So I don't think that it was a case of he doesn't want to fight him. As you know, fighters will fight anyone. It was just a case of there's some other opportunities out there, and didn't really feel that the Dickens fight provided enough reward in terms of its toughness compared to another fight that could be equally as tough. Hope that I've explained that reasonably well. But and the other thing is, we wanted to give Jazza plenty of time. You know, and I didn't want us to be 3 or 4 weeks out and leave him lumbered without an opportunity. I mean, Warren has got a show in Liverpool, Jazza's with Frank Warren, so he can just slip him on there on October 25th, no problem, and he can win it. I'm sure he'll win the title. So give him enough notice, and then hopefully everyone can work something out.
Who else is on this bill?
So you've got Coyle against Katsidis, you've got Campbell against Brizuela, you've got Gavin McDonald, whose fight will be announced in due course. You've got Gamal Yafai, you've got Nathan Smith, Connor Seymour, Tom Knight, and help me out, Winkle. One other local kid from Hull, Charlie Payton, who boxed before. So 3 or 4 young kids from Hull coming through, and you know, Gamal on the bill, and I'm sure we'll add another down the line as well. But virtually sold out already. So you've been to the arena before. It's a great atmosphere, and I'm excited to return.
Floor's a bit sticky.
It's been renovated.
Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Just got to
nice
adequate footwear. That's all.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit concerned about you because, you know, today we travelled up to Hull and we went economy. I mean, if you even call a train economy, coach, whatever, on the way up, and first class on the way back. We haven't gone back yet. We're still in Hull. But the price difference was, for all of us travelling, was like 500 quid. And I thought, do you know what? I've been in economy before on the way to Hull. It's virtually the same. So we'll just go up in economy. No problem. You know. And then I said to you, oh, just to let you know, we're going up economy, back first. You went, what? And you weren't even joking. You were like, what's all that about? Why is that? I said, well, because it was like 600 quid difference, and I just thought it's the same. You were genuinely shocked.
Do you want to tell the real story now?
That is the real story.
I don't think I batted an eyelid, Ed.
You did. I promise, you did.
To be honest, when I live my everyday life, day-to-day life rather, I don't need to make a show of going first class on planes or...
I don't really go... You know, when I went
out... Yeah, because we always see you in economy on a plane.
Well, actually, when I went... On the last couple of times I went to America, I went to Brian Rose fight, I went premium economy. The Kell fight, I went business class because it was a bigger fight and I got a good deal, which is always important. And what was the other reason? Don't know, another excuse. But I'm 6'5". I've got a big arse. I'm 38 waist. You know, I can't sit in these normal things.
Do you know what it is? It's not, listen, I couldn't care less if I was sitting on the floor. I'll be honest with you. It's just, when I've been with you, travelling, wherever...
I always take you first.
Like, you drive me in a Bentley, or you take me first class. So I kind of probably subconsciously got used to that.
I know, and I'm a bit concerned because it was half a tiff thrown when you found out you were in economy.
Such a lame
It's
fuck.
true.
Leeds press conference went alright
Yeah, it was
yesterday.
good. It was good. Really big fight for Josh Warrington. I mean, he's the biggest ticket seller in the country. And I'm not talking about box office sales, because obviously that's Froch. But in terms of personal tickets, he'll do over 2,000 tickets personally for that show. It's massive. Got a real chance to build something in Leeds with Josh Warrington. Now, I know we're early days at the moment, but he's 23 years old. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a good show. Obviously, the return of Ricky Burns at £140. Brian Rose is back. Callum Smith defending his WBC title. A couple of Scots on the... And someone who I haven't mentioned to you, Arfan, the Major, Iqbal.
Interviewed him before.
I'm going to give him a word on the show.
Yeah?
Do some work with him. Yeah,
Do you know an interesting fact about
Sure.
Iqbal? He doesn't own a phone.
Really?
Unless he was lying, he doesn't own a phone.
I was thinking, do you think that the way the world is going, that it's quite sad that, and I'm definitely 100% guilty, that the phone is just, it's everything, isn't
Your
it?
life.
Yeah. I think it's quite sad.
Because
I was
what
in
did
one of
your
those reflective moods, and my dad had a phone like a briefcase, you know, like one of them.
Motorola?
Hello?
Was it Motorola?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. But it was, you know, like when you used to go out with your mates, we're a similar sort of age, aren't we? And you just didn't have a phone, did you? It was like pay phones and stuff like that.
Yeah. House phones. Only house
But when
phones.
you had a bird and you were like 16 or 17, and it was like, just to let you know, I'm going out, which is a house phone, like this.
Hello, is Deirdre in?
Yeah. Hello, Kelly. You know, it's like, so just to let you know, I'm going out tonight. I'll speak to you tomorrow or on Monday. See you later. I mean,
But now there's so many ways of communicating.
I don't know. Is he on Twitter? Is he on WhatsApp? Is it, you know?
Is he on Snapchat?
But I don't think, you know, regardless of the relationship status, I do think that the kids of today, when you look at kids out, and my kids included, it's like that with iPads. You know what I mean?
What would have been a typical toy that you would have had? I know you come from a silver spoon background, but what would what the typical
Well, I had this
toy?
special spoon for my caviar.
What would you have got at Christmas when you was about, say, 8 or 9 years old? What would be a typical present?
Oh, Daddy bought me a horse.
Seriously though, when you
Typical present. I mean, like, I don't know where you think I came from, but I mean, my dad's from Dagenham. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he done well for himself. But a pair of football boots or a football. My best presents always came from Steve Davis. Steve Davis, the snooker player, is my godfather.
Oh, I didn't know he was your godfather.
And he used to buy me the best presents going. I remember when I was probably 10 or I think younger, sort of 7 or 8, he brought me this, I don't know, anyone who's around my age, called an Omnibot robot. And it was a remote control robot, and you could put drinks in it and like send it across the room and stuff like that. And then because, you know, but that made Jeeves redundant in our household, you know, so it wasn't great. And when he bought me a electronic chess board where you could play the machine and all that, it was mad.
So those were sort of...
Yes, I mean that was just came in so handy at boarding school, you know.
Did you get anything like Ninja Turtles or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. Fucking boxing, mate. I'm just, you know, just because our family's got a few quid, don't mean it ain't normal.
It's interesting. Like, it's always just fascinates me
What
about
did you get? I mean, you went to private school.
It's just normal presents, like...
Camera.
Didn't have
That's
a
where it all
camera,
started.
Not really. Eddie.
Random conversation.
I want to bring
Winkle.
up...
Yeah, as those passes. Go on.
There was a video circulating on Twitter recently, a few days after Kell Brook beat Sean Porter, about alleged illegal use of hand wraps. Did you watch the video first of all?
Not really. Like, just sort of... I would have watched it. Basically, what people don't realise is the entire wrapping of the hands is witnessed and signed off by one, the California State Commission, and two, Team Porter. So the raps were done in accordance with the commission. So, and they were absolutely fine. There's no issue at all. And in fact, on here, which you don't really need to see, but I've got the entire wrapping of Kell Brook's hands, which I filmed the entire thing,
okay.
and with a commissioner there and Team Porter there. It's like just a couple of lemons who want to just try and find a reason why they were so devastated that Kell Brook won. I mean, it's like, so, no, absolutely fine. Signed off before and after by the commission. Fine.
Okay.
And they're new.
But that picture that come out with the tape sort of coming up to his knuckle, that was the focal point of the whole.
I mean, you can't even really see by the picture, but the taping was done in accordance with the commissioner.
Right.
Actually, they removed tape first of all in the video. You can see it, and then he does it again, and he says, "Is that okay?" And the commissioner says, "Yes," and then Team Porter, "Yes." So it's absolutely fine. It's not even an issue. No, there's been no report. There's been no complaints. Nothing. Everyone knows the correct, but I don't think people, fans if you like, know what happens, which is you sit there, Dominic Ingle, Kell Brook sits here, the commissioner sits there and does not move, and at times will say to you, "No, you can't do that. No, you can't. That's better. Perfect. Thank you." Team Porter, corner man. Is that okay? Yeah. Signed off. Boom. Done. Just a couple, like I said, it's a couple of lemons. They're absolutely devastated at the fact that Kell Brook has won the world title.
Okay, we can leave that one there. Gary Hyde, manager to Rigondeaux, sent a tweet out over the last couple of days saying that, you know, he had a meeting with Frank Warren, Francis George, etc., and then it blew up on Twitter yesterday that potentially that Rigondeaux is going to have some sort of association or sign or whatever with Queensbury or whatever. So is that good for British boxing?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Gary, blimey, when his top rank contract expired, probably a month or so ago. I've just had some very loose conversations, but it just wasn't for us. We've got enough on our plate, and listen, Rigondeaux is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But fortunately, and I don't like talking about fighters as good as him like this, but he doesn't have the value here. He doesn't really have the value in the States. In relation to the purse that he wants, by the way, I'm not saying there isn't value for him here, because people would enjoy to watch him box. But he's not really going to rate, and he's not really going to fill arenas. And I know that some people watch this and go, "He will," but just promise me, trust me, he won't. Because just because you think he's great, there isn't 10,000 people that think he's great. There just isn't the numbers in that particular fan base. And I know the fan bases, you know.
But surely as a promoter, if he was to sign for a British promoter, then their job is to get his profile higher.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Et
Of course, I could do the job over 18 months, 2 or 3 years. I haven't got time to work on someone like Rigondeaux for 3 years, because I've got all the best fighters, I've got all the biggest names, and we're busy enough with them as it is. For someone like Frank, or, you know, it'd be great, because they haven't got any big name fighters. So it'd be great for them to probably get a Rigondeaux, but it's all about the deal, isn't it? How much he wants. I think he's got this Carib promotion. His promoter is he's already got a promoter, but I think they're happy to work with someone else, something like that. But you know, if we had a weaker stable of fighters and we had an opportunity to try and do something with a fighter like that, then definitely would be in the mix. And I did speak to Gary, you know, after his top rank contract expired, but it was never about numbers, and it was just, you know, but I know the numbers that he was on, and I just can't see how that can be achieved successfully in this market. Great fighter.
But just from a fan point of view, with all that statistics and numbers and all that bollocks, just from a fan point of view, if you're a British boxing fan or just a boxing fan, hardcore, whatever, the thought of Rigondeaux coming here is fantastic.
Any fighter who is as good as he is, or any other world champion, Brits, the hardcore British fans would love to see. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, as we've seen from, again, what I talked about in my interview yesterday, and the barb figures from international fights on Box Nation, and even international fights on Sky, they just don't do big numbers because it's only the hardcore watching them.
Is that why Sky have slowed up with their international content?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they got Golovkin. It doesn't really rate. You know, we're in a ratings game. We're in a numbers game. And that's the same with Rigondeaux. I'm a huge admirer of Rigondeaux. Of course I'd love to see him on our shows. It just doesn't work. Doesn't make financial sense. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to, you know, give you the truth, but that's the truth. And the other truth is that international shows don't really rate either. But we've still got a duty to put them on. And I'm sure you'll see more in the new season from Sky as well, by the way. But they don't, you know, it's a ratings business, you know. That's generally how TV companies work.
That's fair enough. Are you allowed to talk about your press conference next week or not yet?
Yeah, well, we'll announce on tomorrow, actually, our O2 card in London. A couple of big fights, final eliminator for the world title. Anthony Joshua in his first title fight, he's got a big fight. Great fight for John Ryder, really excited about. A couple of big English title fights, area title fights. It's a good little card, and then really planning towards, once we get that done, we've got September 13th, 27th of September we're in Kiel, October the 4th we're in Leeds, October the 11th we're at the O2, October the 25th, excuse me, we're in Hull, and then we'll plan November, and then December, and then we're done for the year. So great to get everything out, all the tickets on sale, everyone grafting, and looking forward to a good first half of the season.
What response have you had from Scott Quigg's replacement in Stefan Jamoy?
Mixed. You know, I think quite a few have said it's a good fight.
Better than Mbundu, in your opinion?
I think it might be a more exciting fight than the Mbundu fight. I would probably say Mbundu was slightly tougher to beat than Jamoy, but I think what Jamoy will do is just come to have a war and he'll sit on Quigg and he'll try and just fight him on the inside. But quality-wise, probably just go with Mbundu, but I would say that the Jamoy fight will be more exciting. Yeah, mixed. I mean, you've got some people who just, whatever you do with Quigg, they're just going to just say the same thing. And you've got others that say, yeah, actually, I quite don't mind a Jamoy fight. So, you know, that's going well. Tickets are going well for that show. Loads of Manchester fighters on the card. Joshua's on as well, of course. Crawler's in a great fight. Eggington Constantine Erich is a great fight for Joshua. And, you know, you can't really win, can you? I mean, we announced the Erich fight. Erich, when's he going to fight Klitschko? I mean, it's like that, but this is what people tweet me, you know. But when you're promoting someone as well as we are with Joshua, and you've got documentaries on Sky, the casual fan, if you like, and I know people get pissed off with me using that word, looks at it and goes, wow, this guy's the real deal. When's he fighting for a world title? So we know what we're doing, and we're taking real nice steps up. You know, Skelton, Erich, the one we'll announce tomorrow, Sprott on December the 6th, and then carry on. And I think he'll definitely be ready for a British title after Sprott, and then I think he'll be ready for a world title sort of late end of next year.
Interesting. Just one final thing. I saw a tweet that wasn't to me or wasn't to anyone specific.
Uh-oh.
But this was the question. Why can Hearn co-promote with or with Sky for Hey Fury, which never happened, and for Groves and Rebras, but not for Frampton?
Well, one main reason is that Barry McGuigan was Carl Frampton's manager and promoter. There is a huge conflict of interest in doing both jobs. A promoter's job is, of course, to promote the fighter, but also to make as much money out of the show as possible. Therefore, generally, the lower the fighter's purses, the better for the promoter, because he's going to make more money. Some are more ruthless than others. A manager's job is to get the best purse possible for a fighter. I didn't like what I was seeing, so I won't go into it too much, but in terms of the Groves deal, my job is to deliver for my broadcaster, and you're talking about Carl Frampton, and you talk about David Hay. Carl Frampton, terrific young fighter, didn't rate at all on Sky. David Hay, box office fighter, massive household name, slightly different. And in the Groves deal, I'm doing a lot of work with Callis Howland. I'm not effectively co-promoting that show. I'm putting our kids on the bill, and I've given them a date on Sky. So I've brought Groves to the channel because I believe fans want to see him fight. He's an exciting fighter. He had a huge night against Carl Frott twice. The broadcasters, Sky, are happy because he's back on the channel. So all the boxes are ticked. The main problem I have is managers managing and promoting fighters. It is a complete conflict of interest. It doesn't happen in America, and it shouldn't be allowed here.
Okay. Just thought I'd ask you because I saw the tweet and... All right. Have you got anything else to say?
No, but I would quite like a Nando's. What time's our train, Winkle?
Quickly run
Give it
now.
a go. Come on then.
Kun Cassis, Eddie Hearn, IFL TV. Thanks for watching.